Hello everybody and welcome to the D.G.S.R Sim Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione League race here at Spa. This is the second race in the race weekend and the very final race in the whole league. Let's have a look at the grid. So in P1 we have Morris followed by Barros in P2. In P3 we have Long followed by Raiola in P4. In P5 we have Pichon followed by Joswick in P6. In P7 we have Hale followed by Wally in P8. In P9 we have Sanchez followed by Stevens in P10. In P11 we have Toblerone followed by Durand in P12. In P13 we have Speaking Leash followed by Villessen in P14. In P15 we have Engel followed by Askham in P16. In P17 we have DL followed by Ridge in P18. In P19 we have Hillier followed by Norton in P20. And finally in P21 we have McElligott. You join me then for the beginning of this final half an hour race here at Spa. Barros and Morris leading up the grid as they head through La Source and onto the straight to start this race. Night race, 11 o'clock. We go as the group bunches up a little bit before we begin. Alright, across the line, group 4, 3 green lights and a green flag. Here we go. So, Long off to a good start. Pichon off to a good start, getting in front of Joswick there. All looks pretty safe through Radion and Eau Rouge. All the cars make it through and onto the Camel Straight. Let's have a look. We're going to stay with the middle of the grid while we go through Lacom. Looks like, I think that's Raiola on a Joswick going up the inside of Pichon and Hale, followed closely by Wally, Stevens, and I think that is Sanchez. So yeah, all things to be keeping quite close together. Let's jump on board with some of these guys at the front here, running quite close together. So yeah, in the front we got Joswick followed by Pichon, and then we're riding on board with Hale at the moment as we head down for Pouan for the first time. Hale looks up the inside of Pichon but decides against it. Looks like he loses a bit of time there. As they head through campus and stave lots. Running quite close together. Let's have a look at some others. So, who's quite close together? So the front four making a big gap between themselves and Joswick. Joswick trying to battle with Pichon behind him, allowing Morris, Barros, Long and Raiola to be storming ahead by about 3 seconds. Let's jump back and go to the middle of the pack. Ooh, big crash. What's happened there? This is going to be a bit difficult to see. So we're running on board with Villessen at the moment. Jump forward to Durand, riding side by side with Toblerone. Durand, ooh dear. Is there a couple of instantaneous crashes there? So Durand and Toblerone run side by side through Benchemont. Neither of them, Durand hasn't quite slowed down enough, so he's going to hit Toblerone wide and spin, hitting Villessen as well. And then I think some people up the top as well. That Pichon is up as well. Let's have a quick look at this. So running on board with Pichon, who is running side by side with Hale. Again through Benchemont. Oh, Pichon loses the back end. Hale manages to just about get around him, but he is hit. What happens to Pichon? Does he The Pichon spins, he gets hit by Hale and is avoided by most people. So it's five cars all within that little area that end up having... And McElligott comes flying through and hits Pichon as well. Craziness happening at the end of lap 1 then, as the grid gets mixed up. So Morris, Barros, Long and Raiola still all keeping up the front 4. Joswick managing to keep up in P5. Stevens there just going around Wally into P6 and P7. Sanchez in P8. So Hale's down to P9. He was sort of around P6, P7. Speaking Leash up into P10. Toblerone in P11. But yeah, McElligott, Pichon, Valessen especially was hurt from that big crash. Looks like everyone else has managed to get through. Who was in the... It was Toblerone and Durand. So they've managed to... Durand's gone P18, so he's lost a few places as well. Toblerone's managed to keep high up in P11, so he wasn't really affected actually, even though he sort of was hit wide. Oh yeah, let's have a look at the grid. So we got, yeah, Joswick P5, Sanchez P6 now. Stevens, oh, this isn't right. I think Wally might be in P7 because that's Stevens behind him and Hale behind him, and then I think is that Pichon? Oh no, it's Speaking Leash behind him, P10. And Toblerone behind them. Askham behind them. Big gap to McElligott. He's being chased by Pichon now. Helios just been overtaken by DL by the looks of things. So I'm not sure where Durand is in relation to these two. So Durand has overtaken both of those two, DL and Hillier. And then I think we have Engel, Norton, and Valessen, who's pitted, unfortunately. He took a big hit, to be fair, in the beginning of that. Let's ride on board with Barros then for a little bit, because, in fact, let's ride on board with Long, because the three of them are getting quite close together now. As they head through La Source into lap 3, I think this is now already. Not going to be close enough to make it up on the top two. Let's jump then to Hale and Stevens. Oh, Stevens had an issue. Is it through? He's riding up behind Wally and yeah, oversteers and loses it through Eau Rouge, unfortunately. So that put Hale up into P7 behind Wally. In P6 as they go through Lecom. They're followed then by Speaking Leash. There's a little way behind them. Let's jump to McElligott, who's now on the back of Askham. He exits Lacoms and into Bruxelles. And looks like Askham goes quite wide and allows McElligott to get past. And looks like Pichon's going to make the most of Askham's slight mistake there. Running side by side as we head into P1. They're going to have to be careful here as to not make a mistake. Nope, both of them keep it safe. Pichon goes a little bit wider. And happy days. So McElligott now from P21 up into P11. So he's had a good race so far. Managing to make up a number of places, 10 places in fact. In fact, it looks like we've lost someone. I'm not sure who. But we've lost someone. There was P21. There was 21 races when we started. Have we lost? We've lost. No, Sanchez is there. Valesin is back on track now. Norton's pitting. Clearly got damage from something. Stevens. Engel battling with DL then. Let's have a quick gander at these guys. And they're coming up close to the mark behind Hillier. Looks like Engel's got the speed coming up to Blanchimont, but he's going to back off because it's a bit of a risky overtake, as we saw earlier. It's a risky overtake to overtaking Blanchimont. Looks like the inside of DL going through to the bus stop chicane, but DL goes wide there, which might give Engel the opportunity. Oh, nope, not quite. Oh, and Engel's hit DL wide. And DL's facing the wrong way now. Oh, that's unfortunate for him. So DL now into P17. Is that Norton behind him? Oh, no, I'm not sure. Not quite sure who's behind them there. Looks like. Oh, is that Valesin? All right, okay. He looks like he's having a bit of an issue as well. Right, back up to the top. Ooh, Joswick has had an issue. Let's have a look at that. He was riding in P5 for a while. So heading through Blanchimont. And then the bus stop chicane. Breaks a little late and loses the back end. Tries to rev it, and that allows Hale and Worley to get past. Having a bit of a problem with his gears or engine or something. I'm not quite sure what, but unfortunately lost a couple of spaces there, and another one as Speaking Leash goes by. That's unfortunate for him. So that puts Worley into 5th and Hale into 6th. Let's have a quick look at Barros and how he's doing with the fight with Morris. I don't see Morris anywhere. What's happened here? Is that Morris on the side? Oh no, what's happened? So through, oh, goes really wide through, oh, flipping it, hits the wall hard there. Loses it through Eau Rouge and Radion, hits the wall hard, and that is going to allow Barros to take the lead. Wow, so Barros in P1 then now, and Long in P2. And that puts Raiola on the podium in P3. It's very unfortunate for Morris there. Hale then, still battling with Worley. Now the battle for P4. I always like, it's always quite strange how the Lexus sounds. Ooh, snap of oversteer there. It's going to cost Hale a little bit of time as he heads through turn 11. Probably going a bit wide there. And Wally's got a little bit of breathing room going through P1. Let's jump back to Joswick then, who's... Ooh, let's jump back a little bit further actually. Why is it saying... That's Tobero behind him. What's happening here? So that was the lap that he lost it. Okay, so we're going out of Eau Rouge and Radion into the Kemmel Straight. He's got the pace on Toblerone, so he's going to look up the inside into Lacombe. And he's gonna make the move stick. A little bit of oversteer, but he keeps it on the track. And I think he's through there. And now time for the attack on Speaking Leash, which I think he does in this lap as well. So he's making some strides to get back up into the position he was in. Speaking Leash is quite wide through there, not too bad. Through turn 11. Through P1. It might take a little bit of time to catch up with Speaking Leash. Let's have a look then. So the grid is spacing out quite a bit now. It's getting to that time. We'll go run down of the grid. So we've got Barros in P1 now. A couple of seconds behind him. We've got Long in P2. Raiola, a few seconds behind him in P3. Wally sticking together in P4, but he's got Hale for close company in P5. Speaking Leash, 4 seconds behind them in P6, with Joswick coming in close behind him in P7. But Toblerone in P8, following very closely by McCalligat, now up into P9. Pishon down in P10, 4 seconds behind McCalligat. Askham, a couple. Ooh, we just see Pishon lose it through. Which corner are we in? Is that the turn before Blanchimont? Or was it Blanchimont? Yeah, it was Blanchimont. Loses the back end through Blanchimont. And that's unfortunate for him. And that might cost him P10 to Askham. Who, yeah, Askham's going to sail past. I think Duran's going to go past. So Askham now in P10, Duran in P11. Sanchez hits Pishon. So Sanchez goes onto the gravel to avoid Pishon, I think. But Pishon's trying to move out of the way. Doesn't expect someone to be off the track. And hits Sanchez. So the two of them come together again. So I think that's going to give Hillier the opportunity to come through into P... I don't know what position it is now. P13 perhaps? P12 I think. And Engel up into... Well, tell us when they go over the line, I think. Yeah, Hillier P12, Engel P13. Pishon now in P14, followed by Sanchez, who's gone back to the pits for damage, even though he was right near the pits then, so probably could have pitted if he really wanted to. DL then in P16. Morris in P17, who's pitted as well. Valesin in P18. And Norton in P19. Lost a couple of races here, so we've lost, I think, Stevens at some point, and we've lost one other racer as well, who I apologise, I can't remember who that was. And looks like Morris is going to come out of the pits, so he's coming back into the fight. Sanchez has pitted, so he's clearly got a decent amount of damage. Which gives DL P15 now. So these back markers, these guys at the back are going to be able to overtake. And oh, it looks like Hale's made the move on Wally. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so towards the end, beginning of lap 5, Hale close up behind him as they go through Radion Eau Rouge. Keeps his distance to make sure it's not too bad, but Wally goes wide. Goes wide on the inside, has to slow down, and that gives Hale the opportunity to sail past him on the Hemel Straight. A little mistake there through Eau Rouge, and that's just given Hale the P position. That's unfortunate for Wally, but good fight all around, good clean racing, which is good. Looks like Joswick has potentially made the move on Speaking Leash. Also done the Camel Straight. Let's have a look at that, shall we? Well, almost exactly the same thing. Joswick behind him through Eau Rouge and Radion. Speaking Leash goes a little bit wide on the exit, and that gives Joswick a little bit more pace. Running pretty much side by side as they head down the Camel Straight. But I think Joswick is going to just about, it's going to underbrake Speaking Leash. And that gives him the position of P6. Speaking Leash down to P7. They're followed very closely by McCalligat, now up into P8. Remember, he started in 21st position, so he's absolutely dominated the backfield and the midfield in this race. And he's got other races in his sights. Alright, pack's really spread out now. Except these three. Oh, as Joswick loses it through Puon. What happened there? I don't think he was touched. So I think he just loses the back end. Yeah, he oversteers and then tries to correct. And loses it through Puon. That's unfortunate. So that goes Speaking Leash, P6, and McElligott, P7. Looks like he's taking a bit of damage because he's struggling to get back onto track. Let's jump back to these three then. Now, Toblerone has managed to catch up with the other two, Speaking Leash and McElligott, so he's going to be looking at trying to get past these two. So far, a very exciting race, very interesting race. I think the grid's been a bit mixed up. The normal, just so as Speaking Leash goes massively wide there through Blanchimont. He's going to hit the grass and allow McElligott and Toblerone to come past him into the bus stop chicane. So that's McElligott up into P6. Now he's got some work to do. He's got hang on a minute. About to say 7 seconds between him and Wally. That's not right. He's got about 7 seconds between himself and Wally. So he's got some work to do there to catch up with the front runners there in the top 5. But so far, very, very good race. Jump back to Duran then, who's on the back of Askham as we go through La Source. Slows down quite a lot for La Source, but gets a reasonable exit. Askham looks like he's got a similar speed down the straight. We go through Radion and Eau Rouge. Cuts the corner. I think that's okay. I don't think that's quite track limits. But they've both had similar lines through that. Well, not similar lines, but they've both managed to keep a similar pace through there. So he's not making any ground on Askham just yet, as he takes it quite wide, going into Les Combes. Askham oversteers, and that's going to give Durand P9. And Askham's down into P10. Unless Engel at this point as well. Now, Engel's a little bit far away, so Askham's probably retained P10. Oh, Engel oversteers a little bit as well. Really interesting how the people are losing it in similar places. I wonder if the tyres are doing similar things. What's happening at the back here? We don't have many times. Not quite sure. Right, so let's have another quick rundown as we head towards the end of lap 7, about halfway through the race at this point. Barros then in P1. It's followed by a couple of seconds by Long in P2. We've got Raiola in P3, about 4 seconds behind Long. Not been able to catch up the front two just yet. He's keeping a similar sort of pace. 7 seconds behind them, we've got Hale in P4, who's coming up on the back marker of Norton, I believe. Wally close behind Hale, less than a second behind Hale in P5. 7 seconds behind them, McElligott storming through the field, hoping to catch up with the top 5, sorry. Behind him, a couple of seconds, is Toblerone settling into P7. Behind him then, Speaking Leash, coming across the line there in P8. A good 15 seconds behind Speaking Leash, we've got Durand in P9, followed by Askham a few seconds behind him. 8 seconds behind him, we've got Engel in P11. Also another 8 seconds followed by Pichon in P12. Pichon is followed fairly closely by Hillier in P13, who's being followed, I think that's Villessen who's following him, so it looks like, has DL lost the position there this lap? It looks like DL might be P15 and Villessen might be P14, unless, let me just see them cross the line and we should be able to see. No, DL is still in P14, so Villessen is a lap behind, catching up with Hillier there. A couple of laps behind then is Morris, who unfortunately had that incident through Radion and Eau Rouge and had to pit for damage, but he's still running in P16. Joswick appears to have pitted, so after he's had a few problems. He had that crash through Pouon, where he lost the back end, and he's pitted now in P17. Norton's still racing in P18, but Sanchez looks like he might have decided to give up and is staying in the pits for the time being, unless he's still waiting on damage to be fixed. I'm not sure. Alright then. Where are the close battles happening? It looks like there's quite a close battle with Hillier and Pishon, so let's jump on board with Hillier. Looks like he's raiding behind Velessen, who is a lap behind them, so Velessen's getting given the blue flags as Hillier is coming towards the back of him as we head into P1 now. Not far in front of Velessen is a Pishon. Field definitely spreading out now as we get further into this race. As Velessen goes quite wide there through Corb Paul Flair. Apologies for any mispronunciation. Goes up to 6 through Blochemont. He's looking to get past Velessen at some point as we head through the bus stop chicane. A little slow on the exit of the entrance of the chicane. And a little slow on the exit as well, so he's not going to be able to catch them anytime soon, unfortunately. So Pishon managing to retain his lead in front of Hillier. Trying to decide where to go next. It's all very spread out at the moment, so let's ride on with the leaders in for a little bit. So Barros is coming close to finishing his 8th lap. And he's only a couple of seconds in front of Long, so Long is doing a good job to stay with Barros for the most part. The lead certainly not as significant as race 1. Oh, and there we go. We officially lose Sanchez there, unfortunately. He's officially left the race, so we're down to 18 races now, unfortunately. As we head through the bus stop chicane to start lap 9. Long within 1.5 seconds of Barros as he heads through this over the finish line. So it'll be interesting, well within 1.5 seconds actually at that point. So it'll be interesting to see if he can try and catch him, or whether Barros will be able to retain the lead. I think we talked about it in the past that the Aston Martin actually tends to be quite good towards the end of the tyre's lifespan, or at least better than some of the other cars. So possibly Long be able to making some time up in the final few laps. Let's jump back then to let's have a look at Speaking Leash, who is getting fairly close towards the back of Toblerone as we head into Radion and Eau Rouge. Does pretty well to keep it there. Good line for you there. Is he going to make up some time on Toblerone down the Kebble Straight? Not quite. But that has some quick gear changes there. To third to go through Laycom, and then Bruxelles staying within a second of Toblerone. These guys quite often race quite close together, making for some interesting viewing. So we've got Toblerone in the Audi and Speaking Leash in the Lexus. Speaking Leash goes a little wide there through P1. Probably won't cost him a huge amount of time, but it might get a warning if he's not careful for track limits. And then we go through Campus and Stavelot. Really surprises me how some of these cars can take these corners in like 3rd, 4th gears. I know don't know if that's just the driving style or whether it's just the different cars reacting differently to certain corners. Looks like Toblerone's going to make a good amount of time there, out going through Corbe, Beaufrère and Blanchimont. So these guys retaining their positions as they keep battling for P7. Ooh, bit of oversteer and correction there from Speaking Leash, so that's going to give Toblerone probably another lap to relax. Let's jump to Wally, who is within a second of Hale as he goes through Eau Rouge, but doesn't look like he's quite got the pace to catch up Hale on the Kemble Straight. Go through Lacon and down to Bruxelles once more. Both going a little wide there. Head through turn 11. I'd say P11 there. And down towards P1. Looks like Hale is managing to keep in front for the most part as we head through P1. Already going quite wide there. Not quite keeping the line. But still made some time up, I think, on Hale there through P1. These guys have got similar pace, but it just depends on where the pace is for certain cars and certain drivers. And sometimes you find that you could have very, very similar pace, but one person has pace in Sector 1, one person has pace in Sector 3, and so they never really pass each other. Really spaced out grid now. Really spaced out. I wonder if so the closest guys are Wally and Hale, and I think Long and Barros actually. Let's have another quick rundown then. We wait for some more interesting action. Barros is leading the race by 1.5 seconds in P1 as he goes to start his lap 11. We've got Long behind him in P2. Trying to catch up as best he can, but hasn't managed to get within sort of a second just yet. 7 seconds behind there, sort of falling off from the top two. We've got Raiola in P3. Almost a good 10 seconds behind them, we've got Hale in P4, who's being followed currently quite closely by Wally as we go down the Kemmel Straight in P5. 5 seconds behind them, we've got McElligott, who is caught up, I think, a couple of seconds since the last time we saw, and he's going to be trying to catch up with those guys. Behind him by a good 8 seconds, we've got Toblerone in P7 as he comes down the Kemmel Straight himself. 14 seconds behind him, we've got Speaking Leash, who's being followed fairly closely by... That's not Durand. Who's being followed by? Who's he being followed by? I think that might be a back marker of Norton. Yeah. So Speaking Leash in P8, good chunk of time behind him. We've got Durand in P9. Another good chunk of time behind him. We've got Engel in P10. 6 seconds behind him, we've got Askham in P11. 4 seconds behind him, we've got Pichon in P12. 12 seconds behind Hillier in P13. 2 seconds behind him, we've got DL in P14. A lap behind him, we've got Valessen, who's going down the Kemmel Straight. Morris in P16, still driving. A couple of seconds behind Valessen, I think. And then we've got Norton down in P17. And I think we've lost Joswick now as well. So we're down to 17 races. What a bizarre race. Well, yeah. I'm going to go back up to Wally and Hale. I'm trying not to be biased, but honestly, they're within a second of each other. They're probably the most interesting race at the moment. Battle for P4. As they head through the bus stop chicane to start their 12th lap here at Spa. Not long to go now, probably about 4 or 5 minutes till the end of the race. As Wally has a little look up the inside, but thinks better of it, doesn't want to crash out. And Hale gets a much better exit out of La Source than he does to go down into Radion and Eau Rouge. Radion through Eau Rouge onto the Kemmel Straight. Well, I was saying most interesting race, but actually it looks like Pichon might have caught up with Askham in the battle for P11, so that we join them as they go through Blanchimont, as Askham goes wide and Pichon goes wide as well. They both go wide there, so not a huge amount of time lost between the two. Pichon's going to come in through the bus stop chicane. He's going to look at try and get a good exit. It's not a bad one. It doesn't look like Askham had a bad one either. We head through La Source as Askham goes quite wide there. They're going to be very close together as they go through Radion and Eau Rouge. Pichon decides to back off a little bit. Make sure no problems. He goes a little wide towards the exit. I think Askham's going to be able to make up a little bit of time there. As we head into Les Combes. And Bruxelles. Let's see if Pichon's going to be able to. Maybe he's looking up the inside through pool and decides better of it. Askham's got the wide line. Slightly slower on the inside through pool 1, I would say. So Askham's going to have a slightly better exit. But Pichon's just biding his time here to make sure he can pass cleanly. As they head through Stavelot. Coming up to Courbe Paul Frere. Pichon takes a slightly tighter line, and that's going to get him right at the back of Askham. Backs up a little bit to go through the corner, which is a good shout, because it's going to be a lot easier to overtake at this point. Let's jump into the other camera as we see them come just about side by side, and I think Pichon's going to be able to make the move before Blanchimont. So he's going to be pleased about that, because that's always a risky move. He goes a little wide there, but they both go wide, so again, not too much time lost as they head into, I think, what will be the final lap of this race. Oh no, let's jump to McElligott. I was going to jump to McElligott because I saw he got within a few seconds of... Oh dear, oh no. Yeah, so we see him here. You can see he's got Wally and Hale in his front rear as he goes through Eau Rouge and Radion. And he has a little bit of trouble, tries to correct it, and spins out before the Kemmel Straight. That's a big crash as well. Big crash. He's got a lot of time between himself and Toblerone to get it back on track, so hopefully he can retain P6, but blimey, he's going to be disappointed about that, because he was getting within 2-3 seconds of 4th and 5th, and you know, that could have been an incredibly good result for him. I mean, it's still an incredibly good result in P6, to be honest, just bearing in mind he started through. Alright, so he's missed the corner into Les Combes, and I think Toblerone's going to be... Yeah, he's got some damage there, which he's struggling with, and Toblerone has overtaken. So Toblerone now up into P6. So, you know, consistency and patience has worn off for Toblerone there. Speaking leash, then I think is far enough behind. Oh no, McElligott's gone back to the pits. The damage must have been so bad. So it looks like McElligott might be dropping to the back. I don't think he's got time to come back in this race. It's going to be in the pits too long, I think. And that's a really unfortunate time to lose it. Right on board with Hale and Wally then for the last few corners of the race. as they go through Core Flare. Wally is getting right up close and personal. Is he going to be able to make this move in the last couple of corners of the lap? As fireworks go off in the distance, as I assume Barros has crossed the line. Down to the bus stop chicane, no dive bomb, keeping it safe. He's getting quite close behind him, but nah, he's just not quite close enough to make the move and doesn't want to risk losing that position. So there we go. Right, let's have a look at the results then. There's a few more races come over the line. So, what a weird and interesting race. In P1 we have Barros. P2 we've got Long. P3 Riola. P4 Hale. P5 Wally. P6 Toblerone. P7 Speaking Leash. P8 Durand. P9 Engel. P10 McElligott. Managing to hold P10 there. P11 Pichon. P12 Askham. P13 Hillier, P14 DL, P15 Valescent, P16 Morris, P17 Norton. And then I think we had a few DNFs in the form of Sanchez, Joswick, possibly Daly, and Stevens. Okay, thank you all for watching. This has been a very interesting last race to the season. I want to say a big thank you from all of us here at D.G.S.R Sim Racing for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the league if you raced in it. I hope you enjoyed the action if you're just watching it. I want to say a very personal thank you for watching and listening. It's been a real learning curve for me, all this commentary stuff, but it's been really fun, and I just hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Without further ado, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.